Hello, this is Brian. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO here at Zapier. Today I want to show off a brand new product we're getting ready to launch called our Platform CLI. Now, if you're not familiar with Zapier, what Zapier is a platform for integrating various SaaS apps together. And we do that through this kind of easy to use, fun Lego-like editor that lets you build workflows, automations between different apps. So whenever you get a new lead in Salesforce, you can send an SMS to your sales guy, add it to a spreadsheet, and also add it to your MailChimp list. And you can kind of remix those and change them and swap one service out for another, which is a really cool way to build workflows, automations, just kind of make your life a lot easier. But behind the scenes, we're talking to 850, 900 different apps. And this product is for those partners, those engineers, those developers that want to add their apps to Zapier. So we have an existing developer platform, which is kind of this GUI-based, UI-based one that's in the browser. But we heard a lot of feedback from engineers, from developers that said, well, that's great and all, but we need a little more power. We want a little more control over what's happening. So that's why we went back to the drawing board and created the CLI. The CLI is a node-based command line and environment, so you can create apps locally, test them locally, run them locally, and then upload them to Zapier, and anyone can use them in the world. Let's just get started. What I think we're going to do today is show off creating a GitHub app. Although we have a native GitHub app in Zapier, this is kind of going to be a little demo because it has some OAuth, it has some cool stuff that we can do and tie it all together. So let's scroll down and just get started. So first things first, let's just start copy pasting from the tutorial. You'll want to get this installed. And this is the CLI. It's going to install a command line interface right on your path called Zapier. It's just a standard npm global install. So you'll need to have Node and npm installed locally. It works on Windows and Mac and Ubuntu, Linux, you name it. And you get this command. It has tons of different stuff in it. And I'm going to walk through a bunch of them today that we're going to use to create an app. So first things first, we need to log in. And I kind of cheated because I've already logged in, have my command line set up here. But you just use your email address and password, very straightforward. Zapier init is the first command you'll probably run, but we're going to cheat a little bit again and use a OAuth 2 template that come bundled with this, so you can use them as well. You just copy paste that out, and actually we're going to call this not the current directory, but GitHub, Zapier GitHub. All right, so let's go into that folder. Let's open up our code editor and poke around a little bit. So first thing to notice is the package.json. So this is a very kind of standard package.json npm stuff. There's index.js, which sets up some environment variables. Most of this is for testing. Authentication, which is using some of those environment variables. These are all exporting kind of definitions about like the app and how you would do stuff. It's all documented. There's lots of examples. We also have a test file, which is great, which means you can now test your apps, run it in your CI, continuous integration, and it's really a nice way to like work with an app. It'll work the same locally as it does in production, which is super useful. But first thing we need to do, npm install those packages we'll need. We have the core and Lodash that we'll be using here shortly. And after that installs, let's make sure the test runs. So Zapier test. And this is going to run the tests that we have, and this is all kind of like dummy endpoints, but you can see that it's kind of returning a lot of the content that we're sending and back. So nice way to get kind of the logs of what's going on. But what we need to do is swap this all over from some of our kind of toy examples to the real stuff, which is what GitHub is using behind the scenes. So first things first, we got to push this to Zapier. That'll unlock a lot of the other commands we'll need to use. Oh, we need to give it a name. So Zapier GitHub CLI demo. So this is actually building a bunch of stuff. It's copying it to a temp folder. It's doing all kinds of stuff behind the scenes and sending it to Zapier for validation and use in production. So that got uploaded and pushed out there. Let's go and take a look at some of the docs. That's the first thing we're going to need to check out because we need to know some of the URLs. So this is an authorized URL. This is the access token URL. Where's a refresh token? Maybe they don't do refresh. Let's see. Refresh. Okay, so we can get rid of the refresh token stuff. The example has it in there. Cool. Well, let's grab the access token one first. So that's the second leg, as they would say. Actually, we can get rid of a lot of this stuff here. So we'll do the client ID and secret in here in just a moment in the environment variable, but we don't need those examples anymore. Authentication, we don't need the refresh token for this example. So let's get rid of all that stuff. We don't need, we will need scope. So we'll get that here in a second. But we had the access token. I have that in my clipboard, so I'll paste that in. Great. The next bit is authorize URL. So this is the thing that we'll send the user to, that they'll kind of like approve. Say, yes, Zapier, you can connect to this, which is important. So we'll get that in there. And then we still got to do the client ID and client secret, which we don't want to hard code that in the actual code. We would want to use environment variables, which is a brand new feature that we have. So if you do Zapier environment 1.0, so this is the actual version of the app that we've uploaded, so you can have different versions. We don't have any environments there. Environment variables is great. So let's go and take a look at our client ID up here. Now we can set it environment 1.0, and let's do client ID, paste that in, make sure that runs successfully. Cool. Let's get the client secret. Exact same thing, except secret. So client ID, client secret, that's what we're going to be using in our authentication.js. Client ID, client secret, perfect. Are we forgetting anything? Oh, I think there's a couple more things we got to do. Let's make sure that this, what does this return? Because I think our demo shows it returning JSON. Oh, this is definitely not JSON. That looks like a URL string. All right, let's do that. So there's actually, you can use the native packages that come with Node.js for this. So you can just look up the normal docs. I'm pretty familiar with the query string package, which you can just swap out. Oh, we don't need refresh token. Let's get rid of that. So it'll parse that query string, which should be good. I think that's everything we need to do to actually get authentication working. Oh, actually, one last thing. Let's not forget this. We got to have the redirect URI. So let's do Zapier describe. This is our redirect URI. Let's copy paste that, and we'll need to paste that into the settings here. Oh, I have a to-do. Very helpful. So we need that callback URL to match what Zapier is going to give it. So let's update that application. All right, so I think we have everything ready to go on the authentication side. What we don't have is any triggers or any actions or anything like that. And we do need that in order for the app to be usable. And you can see there's nothing, nothing. So let's go and create some dummy ones. We won't use them right out the gate. And I know there's a command called Zapier scaffold. Resource contact. We're not doing contacts. I think probably the most basic resource is probably repository. Let's do that. So this is going to create a couple of files for us and kind of auto register them. So it imports it and sets it under resources, and then creates a resource, and it creates a bunch of like dummy stuff. It does the get, it does the search, it does a create. We don't need half that stuff. Let's just get rid of everything. Let's just keep the list one, which is what we use for polling, for example. So let's get rid of this other stuff just for now, for this example. List repositories, and we can, let's just leave it to example. We won't actually use this. The only other thing I think we need to do, since we're not going to use this, is set up a test auth. Yeah, because that's hitting test auth. That's not a real API. And the reason we need to test auth is whenever we get that token back, we need to make sure that it gives us 200s, or at least not 400s. And if it is a 401, we throw an error. So I wonder what we should use for this. Not repository, because that's a trigger. This is just a test. So probably, usually an API has like a me endpoint. Let's go take a look. So users. So there's username. We don't have the username yet. But user, oh, here we go, user, get the authenticated user. Okay, cool, that's what we want. User, and oh, we definitely don't, we're not using this base URL because we're just hard coding them for this demo. So what is the endpoint we want? Okay, so oh yeah, it's just api.github.com. Okay, so let's paste that in, save. All right, So let's quickly review. We swapped out these access tokens, the authorized URL, the test endpoint, the query string. Otherwise, all this stuff is just basically coming from the example. Then we have a repository example, which we're not going to really use as part of the demo. We just want the authentication to work. All right, let's push this. So we made our changes. We're ready to see it live out there in the world. So let's see. So it's zipping up. It's doing all this stuff again. So this is a very common pattern. You make a change, you do a push, or you test your changes, and then you go in and you give it a try. So let's see. We want to make a Zap. So GitHub's already an app that you can use on Zapier, but we're not using that one. We're using a different one. I got a 2. Probably my cache is a little crazy. There's the real one. All right. The real McCoy. Here we go. New repository. So save. We're not going to actually use that. This is what we want. We want to see if our connecting new account works. So here we go. Here's a moment of truth. Will it fail? First things first, it redirects. Oh, we forgot to do the scope. We don't just want public data. Let's get rid of that. Let's quit out. Oh, I'm glad it told us that because we forgot the scopes. Read write, that's not what we want. What scopes are there available to us? Scope, repo gist. There's an example here. I'm sure there's got to be an example on scopes. Oh, here we go. Repo's good. We want repo because we'll have that trigger for it. User because we want the user. I think that's actually fine. Just those two is probably fine. So repo, user, save, Zapier, push. Once again, and again, this is doing a lot of cool stuff kind of behind the scenes. It's building a definition that it can validate against, and it's uploading to Zapier so it can check it and sending it out there and replacing the runtime with your code. All right, let's try it one more time with the new scopes. Hopefully it says. Yeah, there we go. Authorize application. Woo, it worked. Test, success. All right. There's some other stuff you can even do here. You can do Zapier logs. Let's take a look at the logs. We should see some of the stuff that we did kind of behind the scenes. Oh, didn't come up here. Zapier logs, I think type HTTP perhaps. There it is. Yeah, there they are. So you can see some of the HTTP logs that you have here. This is exactly what I thought. We get the access token, we got the user. You can even drill in. There's a bunch more. So if you do Zapier help logs, there's a bunch more information about the different logs you can get. So you can ask for format plain. Let's try that. So we can get them more fleshed out. Super helpful. There's also history of your app, so you can see who's done stuff. You can invite people. Oh yeah, here we go. Cool. So this is the kind of the full payload, so you can kind of use that to inspect. There is Zapier history, so you can see who's pushed different things. So you can say that we changed the version. We didn't really change it. We just uploaded it. You can add collaborators. Rator. Oh, is it plural? What is it? Let's look it up. Zapier help. You can look through and see invite. Oh, there's invite. That's right. So invite, collaborate. So not collaborators, but collaborate. So you can do that and invite people. I'm the only collaborator right now. All kinds of different stuff. Zapier versions, Zapier apps. They list all the stuff that you would think that they should list about the different things that you have in your app. So I hope this was a little bit educational. All this code is available on GitHub on our profile, and this is launching soon, or perhaps today as you're watching this. So check it out. Send us any emails you might have, any questions you might have to partners@zapier.com. We're happy to answer any sort of questions. And we also have a Slack room if you're so inclined. You can find it on our docs. You can join this room and get some help. Thank you a bunch, and happy zapping.